Hey there guys, welcome back to Anthony Vlogs, where Anthony Vlogs. And I know it's been a while since this channel's been active on here, but we're back with the interview segment with the one and only person I've ever interviewed on this channel. We're going to keep it that way. We're at least trying to, like I say, yearly at this point.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Sort of like
we're coming up on a year, I think.
Yeah, so we're going to be checking in with Matt Palmer, my good friend, who of course is the creator of the Immortal Red Fox.
Yes, sir.
Give your usual spill that you do on Instagram stuff.
My name is Matt Palmer, one of the creative minds behind the original English language shonen style manga and original indie tokusatsu web series, The Immortal Red Fox. The Immortal Red Fox Volume 1, now available on Amazon.com.
How many times do you think you've done that?
So many times. Like every single interview, Instagram video. I think I was saying it at the table at Powermorphicon Express too.
Yeah.
Where like it's just kind of like a pro wrestler rattling off the promo now. You know?
Exactly. So I mean, it's. I mean, you have to, right?
Yeah.
You gotta have that so that people memorize it. I mean, it's almost like a jingle at this point.
Yeah.
It's like
I find that I'm saying it so fast now too that I feel kind of like the Micro Machines.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're like the voice of Blur.
The Micro Machine Man here, presenting the genuine, original, colossally collectible, most midget miniature replicas of the real things, Micro Machines.
Yeah. How are you, man? I haven't talked to you in a while.
Doing really good. Yeah, we haven't seen you probably since Powermorphicon.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Yeah.
So I guess leading into that. Powermorphicon Express, which was around early April.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first of their endeavors into expanding the Powermorphicon brand. Of course, they had been represented at other conventions, but this was the first time they had gone outside of California. And it was the Powermorphicon Express. It was a bit of a smaller convention, but that's kind of what they let us on to believe. So I mean, that wasn't too jarring. But it was down in Pasadena, Texas, which I had never been to.
Pasadena, Texas is nothing like Pasadena, California.
No plans on going back, to be honest, but the convention was great.
Oh, super fun. It was super fun, man. And I think that it was even better because it was slightly smaller.
Yeah, I would say that really worked for, especially stuff for like what you were doing. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, kind of going into it, and we'll kind of go about in a year review to see what Matt's been up to recently, but since I was at Powermorphicon and we were able to see each other, kind of going into the fact that it was smaller, so the indie people really had stuff to do. I mean, because you, technically speaking, if you were to look at it like a standard convention, you were in the main, like main street. That's where you guys were. All the main artists and all the other people were right there. And I mean, every time we came around, your booth was bumping. I mean, I don't know if it was just because it was a good energy. Everyone else around you was also doing good stuff, but it sort of funneled, right?
I think that we had a really prime spot, which was super helpful. Because like you said, we were right at the end of that main drag, but Jason David Frank was right behind us.
Yeah.
So Jason David Frank's line would wrap around and, kids get bored waiting on the line, they leave their parents, and then they come over and see the guys in the suits and stuff. So, but I think the convention was also really, really fun because of the size. I mean, we were both able to go and walk up to, Bulk and walk up to Johnny Young Bosch or Jason Font or Jason David Frank even and interact with these people, not just once where you have to wait online for, 3.5 hours for a John Bernthal autograph or something like that.
Yeah, and it's a shaking hand.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you.
You got 500 people in front of you, 500 behind you. It's a whole process.
But it wasn't really like that. And I think that speaks to the way that the Power Rangers culture is too, where it's kind of like this big, all-inclusive kind of family element, you know what I mean? So it was super fun, man. It was really just a great time. I can't wait to do another one.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, like you said, it was easy for you to kind of go up to those celebrities and kind of talk to them like they're people, because they are.
They are people.
And vice versa, people who would normally kind of be trapped almost like a human zoo. We've got all the celebrities there. They're usually not allowed to just sort of wander around because they're going to get stopped and harassed and all sorts of stuff.
Right.
But people were coming to your booth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you want to talk about some of that? I mean, what celebrities were you seeing there?
So the biggest one, and this is actually like really funny because it was Jason David Frank. But if you've ever seen Jason David Frank at a convention, he's kind of like Tony Stark now.
Yeah, he's kind of cleaned himself up.
Yeah,
persona that
does the trimmed beard and a nice 3-piece suit, and is rolling deep. You know what I mean? And we're breaking down our table at the end. It was on Sunday, and I'm like clearing stuff off the table, and everyone else is behind the table. organizing posters and stuff like that. And I look up and they're all frozen like this. I'm like, what? And I turn around and he's standing right next to me with like a pizza crust in his hand, like chewing on it. And he's like, so what's this all about? And I'm like, hi. So, that was probably the coolest out of all of them. Meeting Johnny Young Bosch was really cool. I've always been a big fan of his.
Absolutely. Johnny Young Bosch, another Power Ranger star, voice actor, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like he's had his voice in everything. Let's see, Matt Frank, who's a really awesome comic artist, Gaz Gretzky. Ivan Saffold, who does the Jamingers project, who's also in Texas. Tokusatsu, baby.
I was gonna say, I've seen that recently.
Yeah, we're trying to make that a thing.
Its own little universe.
Yeah. Getting to meet, some of the other actors who, I never had an opportunity to, and then they turn out to be like just regular, really nice people. Let's see, Brad Hawkins, who was on VR Troopers and was the voice of the Gold Ranger. Who actually has a sushi restaurant in Frisco.
Yeah.
He lives in Frisco.
He said that during the panel that he was on, and it was just like, apparently all these people just have some sort of restaurant or side project, and they're right here.
Yeah, a lot of them. I mean, I think...
Cardenas is, another Texas local.
Cardenas lives here. Jason David Frank, we know, lives in Houston type area. Austin St. John lives in Dallas. I mean, for some reason, all the Power Rangers came to Texas, and I don't really know why. Hopefully nothing bad happens in Texas.
That's not some sort of cosmic event that's drawing
right.
Here, that's what you're saying?
Like some sort of crystal buried underneath a donut store. There's a Power Rangers movie joke.
Right. You guys remember Krispy Kreme? How much money do you think they got for that Krispy Kreme reference, huh?
I like Krispy Kreme. Krispy Kreme's my favorite. Can we put the little thing down here, like little donuts or something?
So Powermorphicon was definitely a great experience. I would say it definitely boosted you quite a bit.
Yeah, I think so. We it's hard though, man. We're constantly trying to expand, and we're getting more and more people and more characters and this, that, and the other thing, and it's just kind of, it's an ever-growing thing. But I think that the response was pretty good. I mean, like you said, there were lines and people buying stuff. We sold out of books on the first day.
That's awesome. I mean, that's what it really comes down to, is that's your bread and butter right there.
The comic book is, exactly. So, but yeah, I made some contact. There's so many people in the community that we're big wrestling fans.
Yeah.
I've got my Bullet Club shirt on. You've got your AJ Styles hat on.
I was about to say, there's times where at the convention itself, I ran into someone with this exact hat. So they're everywhere.
There's some great guys who love Power Rangers and love wrestling, and I saw an independent wrestler in Texas, out near the Pasadena area, wearing a Red Fox t-shirt in ring.
There you go.
And his name is Corbus. He's really, really awesome. So shout out Corbus and 541 Podcast. Those are really, really cool guys. You should check their stuff out. They love to talk wrestling.
There you go. Free plug right there. Hope you're watching.
And eat Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme. This is a special place. Very special. It must be.
Don't forget the Krispy Kreme. If Rita Repulsa loves it, then why shouldn't you?
Yeah. Oh my God.
So last year, we did the interview segment then. What do you think have been the biggest strides forward in that year since we last talked? I mean, obviously you've done a lot more live action stuff. I mean, convention we've already talked about, but a lot has changed. I mean, it's been a whole 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, still grinding on the next book, which is a much bigger book and a lot more character development. New characters. I remember when we talked last year, I was like, I'm probably not gonna have like 5 or 6 heroes. Yeah, throw that out the window.
I was gonna bring that up, and I'm glad you did, because I remember that was a big point of, are you gonna have any sort of other colored heroes? And then I go on Instagram, and every time you're like, oh, I've got this Screenfellow I'm working on, and maybe this guy, and it's like, Okay, well, somebody changed their mind.
Yeah, I definitely changed my
Proof
mind.
that can happen, okay?
Right. But the thing is, man, is when you're constantly working on this stuff, you're constantly getting new ideas and new inspiration, and you know, it's so fun making the suits and shooting the action sequences and seeing how, you know, there are some guys that when we start a character, it starts in the comic book format, in the concept art format. Then there are other characters where we made the suits first, or we made a helmet first, and then the artist has to go and take that and figure out a way to draw it where it's not going to take him an hour to draw, you know, one shot of the character. You know, like when guys were getting pissed off having to draw Spider-Man's lines over and over and over.
Right.
And over.
That's why the 60s cartoon, he's just got like the head.
Yeah, his head is the only thing with webs on it.
I'm not drawing all that.
He got
5 cents.
He got the rest of his suit at Dollar General. So yeah, working on the book, we've been putting out our episodic format of the series in the Japanese. We just had our second episode come out of Powermorphicon Express, which you star in, and it's one of my absolute favorites because I think it's hilarious, and your takes are awesome.
I mean, we've got a clip right here. Roll a clip.
よしバカどもぶっ倒してやるぜ準備はいいかちょっと待てなんだこれ俺日本語話してんじゃんこれって字幕かうおすげえじゃんよしよしじゃあな何かかっこいいこと言わないと何か古いチャンバラ映画みたいな
That was hilarious. I thought
that was pretty funny.
That
Yeah.
was so good.
Ours
So that
is-
was
Krispy Kreme don't.
Krispy Kreme.
So yeah, working on the episodes, you know, it all takes a lot of time. The biggest thing, and I've talked to other comic artists and other creators about this, is you hit a bottleneck, no matter what. So I could work on a book and have, you know, we've got 3 or 4 people in our bullpen now working on just the comic side of things. Then we have our whole other crew for the live action stuff. And what happens is once you get into coloring or inking or post-production on video, when you have this huge chunk of content, you hit a bottleneck and it becomes difficult to churn it out that fast. So what we're trying to do is when we do these bigger Ranger conventions, so, and there may be one coming up in, say, November somewhere, we want to kind of just drop all of our stuff at once. You know, and it causes a little bit of pushback and you know, having to change schedules, but this thing kind of grew into something way faster than I thought it was going to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but I think the last year since we, you know, got to sit down and talk, I mean, it's been a pretty fun, amazing ride, and I'm glad that both of you guys have been here to kind of witness it, because I remember telling you on the phone one day, I was just like, I'm gonna make a comic book.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of the thing I keep telling people is it's amazing that it's gotten this far, because a lot of people will say things like, hey, I'm making this thing, I'm gonna, you know, kickstart this, and it's gonna be this whole, you know, series like that. Can I help you? But, you know, not everyone always gets off the ground, and it's not always the fault of the project. Things happen.
Right.
But for you, I mean, every time that we talk, you got something new that's happening. I remember just the idea of like, oh, we have more of a legit suit as opposed to the prototype suit. Going from that stage to there was amazing to me. But I feel like the convention was probably the most real that it felt for me. And I mean, I can only imagine it felt for you, was seeing like, you know, multiple costume characters. You had all these different arts and books and the TV going with the episode. Like, it felt like an event.
Right. Sorry, I don't want my cat to harass you.
So you said in November we've got a convention coming out, possibly around that time?
Yep, it's looking like we're gonna do Ranger Stop in Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
November's gonna be a busy month. I'm gonna be kind of helping shoot and work with another project. You know, so I'm staying busy. But yeah, Ranger Stop will hopefully have a couple of big surprises, which would be a new book, maybe some new characters, some new suit reveals, and I'd love to do a screening of our entire season in a cinematic format in an English dub.
There we go.
And I can't really tell you, but I can't tell everybody else what's going on with that yet. And we're gonna recut some stuff, and it's gonna feel more like, we've done the episodic Japanese style where, if you've ever watched subbed versions of Tokusatsu shows or anything like that, you know what that feels like from our little mini episodes. What we're going for with the cinematic cut, yes, it's going to be in English, but I want it to play kind of like one of these superhero Taisen movies, these specials, that are about 45 minutes long, and there's some extra footage and stuff like that, and we'll hopefully also get that put out on DVD.
Awesome, that's exciting. So you got a convention coming up. You got a cinematic English dub. As far as that, is there anything other like major that you're super excited for? Whether you can or can't tell us, of course, is up to you. But I mean, what's next?
Wow. We've got like 4 or 5 different characters in development.
Okay.
4 or 5 new stories in development that all tie back into the RFU, the Red Fox universe. RFU sounds kind of funny and punny, but doing that, I'm really, really excited about that. And one of the things is like I love seeing progress, and I love when other people are excited to work on this stuff, and something comes in my inbox every day. You know what I mean? One thing that I'm really, really pumped on right now is the 3D printing aspect of things, and how we're going to be able to make toys, we're going to be able to make helmets a lot faster, and suit pieces a lot faster, and that's one of the more exciting parts. I write the stories, I mean, a year and a half in advance sometimes.
Right.
And then they, like I said, you hit that bottleneck with the artwork. And working on the suits and the live action and the promotional side of things gives me more to do. So I'm not just kind of like constantly stewing, waiting for stuff to come in. So yeah, the suits and wanting to buy a 3D printer so bad so I can just go and make some more stuff. But my wife will kill me, so.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit.
That's not a cry for help. So yeah.
So we got episode 2, as you stated, came out April or so, early April. We're working on the sort of longer cuts. Is episode 3, I mean, is that somewhere in there, or is that in the process?
Episode 3 is in post. I wanted to make episode 3 a little bit longer. Instead of doing these 3 to 4 minute ones, I wanted to give everybody kind of maybe a 8 to 10 minute cut, where we can get a little bit more action going, because that's my favorite part. You know what I mean? I like seeing the VFX and the fights and everything like that, because our fight crew and our action directors put in so much hard work to make that look so awesome that, I don't want to just give everybody just a little taste all the time. But yeah, episode 3 is in post-production. It's going to go off to Koji Sano for our Japanese voice work here in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully within the next month or so we should have that one up on our YouTube channel.
Okay, so maybe end of summer is what we're looking at here. So back to school, guys, you get your nice Fox fix.
Fox fix!
Hey,
I like that!
there you
That's
go.
a good one. That's pretty good.
Well, that one's pretty. So I mean, I feel like we've given a lot of people stuff to look excited for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I said, it's always building. It's always kind of cool.
I know.
As far as the process of getting this stuff out there, is there stuff that because obviously we've mentioned that there's other people doing similar things right now. Is there stuff that you're taking inspiration from, or maybe learning from these other teams that you can kind of discuss as far as your process is going right now?
One thing that I see that some of the other indie tokusatsu productions doing that we just kind of haven't really touched on yet, because I want to wait, is how incredibly successful their crowdfunding campaigns are. So there's an indie comic production called Time Strikers, which hit their goal and then got 4 stretch goals within the span of a month. The Jamingers Project did great with their crowdfunding. Power Rangers Unworthy does great with their crowdfunding. So that's something that I definitely take some inspiration from. Also, I just kind of love talking about this stuff with these guys, because they all have such great ideas. And it pushes me to want to do a indie tokusatsu war movie.
Right.
And I call it like indie tokusatsu taisen or indie tokusatsu taisen, where we would get all of these characters together, even if it was just in like a 20-minute short for a big, huge battle scene.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's a goal of mine. And then, like I said, seeing other people who reach out and they're like, hey, I have this idea for a character, like, what do you think I should do? I love that aspect of it and talking to people about it, because, you know, I have my own way, and Ivan Saffold has his own way, and Bueno with Garage Hero has his own way, and there's all sorts of different projects. There's a studio in Singapore now called Toku Asia that's they've got a great project that they're working on. Metal Knight in overseas, you know, everybody has their own different way of doing this, but I think that that's what's so great about it, is because we're going to get different characters, different looks, different feels, but it's all going to be one thing.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. it's just a lot of fun. I could talk about it all day.
And that's kind of the main thing, is that it is fun. There's a huge community as part of this. I mean, there's not a whole lot of, say, competition. It's more so just like, oh, you're doing this thing? Well, let me kind of help you out with that. Let me give you a shout out here, and, you know.
Right.
It's really different from a lot of the other kind of independent stuff, I would say, right now.
Right, because you see independent comic book artists, I think, not necessarily compete with each other.
But there's nothing wrong with healthy competition, of course, but
Right.
it's kind of a different thing. I mean, kind of giving an example of it is I'd listened, well, what used to be a podcast, which was called Talking Tunes, which was the Rob Paulson podcast. Who did characters like Yakko and Raphael, and Donatelli did a lot of different versions of stuff. And he's always talked about how that industry is so different from the standard acting industry, because if you walk into a room for a TV commercial starring as middle-aged dad, there's going to be 20 people that look just like you, and they're all there to get that job.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, in the voice acting community, if you were to say, it was like, can you do a such and such impression? They say, oh, I can't do it, but maybe Maurice LaMarche should be your guy, or Tom Kenny.
Right.
That's what it feels like a bit more with the sort of, not only Ranger community, but the indie tokusatsu community, and you know, that's great.
Yeah, and I think that that's going to help us. Man,
It's dark as hell. Like,
yeah, what happened?
What happened here?
Oh, no.
Down raining.
Rita Repulsa is after
The donuts.
She's going to the Krispy Kreme.
Oh, well, there we go. That's a little complete circle there.
Yeah, but no, like a donut.
Yeah, like a donut.
But no, man, it's super fun, and I love doing it, and I love talking to you about it, and I'm really, really glad that both of you guys have kind of been with us since the beginning, and seeing this thing grow, and, you know, it's just, it's such a good time.
Well, we're happy to be a part of it. I think this is sort of our sign to guys wrap it up, because
Yeah.
the light is really ending. But I want to thank you guys for watching, of course. Tell them where you can get the Red Fox fix, I guess.
Get your Fox fix. You can follow us on Instagram at Immortal Red Fox, or you can go to www.theimmortalredfox.com. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Volume 1 on Amazon.com. Check out our YouTube channel for episodes 1 and 2. Episode 3 coming next month, hopefully. And until next time, stay frosty, stay foxy. Sayonara.